1 year later with this beaut. The Sony FX30. Did it meet my expectations? Was it all peaches and cream? And did I love every moment that I had it in my hand? Was there problems? And more importantly, is this even a cinema camera? Let's talk about it. So Best Buy sent me an email asking, how did I like my FX30 after 1 year of use? And I thought, that's a damn good question, because I hadn't thought about that myself. Kind of just pick it up and use it. So I figured I would make a video about it. I'm probably like the first person too, the first person to make a FX30 year later video, I bet. Yeah, right.
You're late.
I'm coming from the Micro Four Thirds system. I had a GH5 Mark II, a Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and a Zcam E2 M4. And that's an interesting camera right there. A lot of people are not really up on Zcams, but I had all three of those cameras at the same time. Now I know a person like, why would you do that? Why would you buy 3 cameras at the same time? It's weird and it's probably stupid, but I did because I was doing a lot of interviews and I wanted a 3-camera setup. So I used my Pocket 4K, I know, as my main cam because the image that comes out of that is awesome. The Zcam was kind of like a B cam, A cam kind of deal. And you know, the GH5 was an everything camera because it was a hybrid. You could take pictures, you could use it as another video camera. And I thought it would be easy to match all of these images up in post, and it wasn't. It wasn't at all. The Blackmagic, great image out of that camera. I love that camera. I think I made some of my best stuff with that camera. The Zcam was okay. It was cool, but my favorite was the GH5 Mark II. That is a fantastic camera. I miss it. I don't really miss items. They're like tools to me, but that camera, I miss that camera. I really do. But ultimately, the work I was getting, it was fast, it was furious, it was run and gun. And it was just hard keeping things in focus, because if anyone knows anything about Micro Four Thirds cameras, they don't have the best autofocus. The autofocus in the GH5 was whack. The autofocus in the Blackmagic Pocket 4K does not exist, and neither does it in the Zcam. So you had to pull your own focus. So I started using more cinema glass, and I got better. I got a lot better actually at pulling my own focus, but I was getting like events and documentaries and these things. You can't tell a person, can you do that again? And that led me directly to Sony. And just so happens at the same time, they announced a new camera. I feel like that's like every week now they're announcing a new camera, but they announced the Sony FX30. And I'm like, wow, a little brother, or, you know, smaller brother to the Sony FX3, which is a camera everyone loves. So I figured I would get my feet wet in the Sony E-mount system by getting a Sony FX30. And I did, and I've been using it all year. Like, I've used it exclusively from this time last year to now. Like, I still use this camera all the time, even though like now I'm shooting this on a A6700. This is coming out the house with me most of the time. This is a wonderful camera. So what do I like about it? First off, I just picked it up. The grip. The grip is great. And it feels quality in hand. And realistically, man, it does all the shit that the FX3 does. So if you like the FX3, you'll like this camera. Outside of the base ISO, I think the base ISO is 2500 and 800 on this camera, and it's like 12,800 on the FX3. That's the biggest difference. Of course, is the APS-C sensor, but a lot of people are not big fans of the crop sensor. I'm gonna tell you why I am. And this is the biggest plus, the biggest pro to the Sony FX30, and that's cheap lenses. And not cheap in the sense of being made cheap, but just more affordable. I think I gotta use that word, not cheap. More affordable lenses. The E-mount been around for so long that you can find affordable focal ranges for like anything your mind could think of. So, you know, first thing I got was a zoom 17 to 72.8. This is my workhorse. Tamron, love this lens. Then I kind of got into the, you know, fixed focal lengths. You know, I'm shooting this with the 16 millimeter f1.4, great lens, the 30. Also got the 58 in the tuck. But then I start getting into the cinema glass, and Ciru, great company, Ciru, makes these affordable cinema lenses, the Nightwalker series, which is like a marriage made in heaven for the Sony FX30. But then I also start playing with their anamorphic line that they came out with, or at least started their journey in the anamorphic with. They have a bunch of lenses now, but man, I didn't pay more than $400 for any of these lenses. I know. I bought them all used. And it's so many used lenses. I know I could have got an FX3, but the full frame glass is way more money than the APS-C glass. I like keeping some money in these pockets. You know, of course, we're still gonna make money, get great images, but yeah, I mean, you don't want to break the bank either. A lot of people breaking the bank and they ain't making no bank. So I'm looking for more affordable options, and E-mount lenses are just that. Of course, you got 4K 120. You know, the rolling shutter is pretty decent. It's not the best, but it's very decent. There's a lot of things to like about this camera. There's also a lot of things to dislike about this camera. It's not perfect. First thing people want to talk about is low light. So I have to talk about it also. Low light is not great, but I always say to myself, who's filming without lights? Like, I have 4 lights on right now. Like, even if we're outside shooting, I'm gonna find a light source to put you in front of, behind, something. We're gonna find a light source and we're gonna use that to our advantage. So no light, no, we're not ever trying to shoot with no light. So for me, 2500 is just fine. It's just fine. I'm not trying to shoot in the dark, like complete dark. Now, yeah, with a Sony FX3, you probably can shoot in the complete dark, but yeah, this does just fine, even though that could be something they probably make better in the future iteration of the camera. Not really big on the S&Q mode. It's no audio. You're kind of limited to it being slowed down in camera. With this camera, you can just shoot in just native 120 frames, but you know, with audio, so it's there. You can do that, but the S&Q is supposed to be like a quality of life kind of thing, and I like that. I like being able to hit a button and going right to it. But realistically, that doesn't work because of the next thing I don't like. There's no shutter angle. No, and cinema. We're talking cinema here. I had a GH5 Mark II, a Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and a Zcam E2 M4, and they all had shutter angle. This camera does not. Neither does the FX3, but it says cinema line right there on the body. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Don't even like it. I think that's weird. So you still have to adjust your shutter speed every time you change frame rates. And that can be a pain in the ass, especially for me when I was coming from these cameras going to this camera. Wrapping my head back around that was kind of tough. Now I've gotten used to it now, but still, I feel like that's like something you can just kind of like the magicians over there at Sony can just sprinkle that into an update. You know, they've added anamorphic D-squeeze. They've added the fact that you could put S&Q and assign it to one of the customizable buttons. They've added some things to this camera since it dropped. It wasn't just like, it's not like cold turkey. They've added things. Just add shutter angle, or are you going to try to sell me another camera, which is probably what they're going to do. They're going to try to sell another camera. Man, that sucks. I don't think it's a cinema camera. I think it's a hybrid camera. Cinema cameras are like, you know, those box style, very manual systems. A lot of this stuff is kind of like automatic. It's almost foolproof in a way. So you can't really mess up unless you forget to change your shutter speed. Also, this top handle, while I don't have a problem with it, it does feel cheap in some instances, but it's also really short. And I know a lot of people complain about that. A lot of people bought this extender that I have on it to make it longer. Yeah, that could have been better. But functionally, it works just fine. Like right now, I'm just nitpicking stuff that I don't like. Because the camera's great. When I leave to go shoot something, especially something quickly, I'm always picking up the FX30. Like that's the first thing I'm going for. Not this A6700. I actually have an FX6 now with some full frame glass. No, I'm going right for this FX30. It's compact. You can rig it up if you feel like it. It's good on battery life. The thing that I don't like the most about it is the expensive memory. That CF Express Type A, oh man, Thank God for Angelbird. Angelbird and their 1 terabyte solution, that's $500. I know, $500 is a gem. Is me nitpicking because the images I'm getting from this camera are phenomenal. The compact size, the E-mount lenses, all of those things are good things, man. So a year later, I would recommend this to anybody that want to get a leg up into their videography, maybe playing with some cinematography, because I think if you're actually looking for a cinema camera, maybe Blackmagic has those better options around this price point. If you're looking for a camera with great image quality, autofocus, reliable autofocus, colors, very good colors come out of this camera, especially if you use an S-Log 3. Professional audio, you have XLR ports that you can use. I feel like the Sony FX30 is like the all-around workhorse of a camera. It does a little bit of everything. So if that's what you're looking for, perfect fit for me. Documentaries, a little bit of commercial work, some events, because I do a lot of events, especially boxing. It's fantastic. I couldn't have picked a better camera. So if you're thinking about picking it up, I say give it a go. With that being said, I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I know I haven't been very active in 2023. I was making the transition from creating video game content to creating content around my work. So yeah, it took some time, but we're here now, and we'll be definitely turning it up in 2024. So if you like what you see, stay tuned, subscribe, like, all those good things. I'm gonna get up out of here, and I'm gonna let the kid wrap this one up. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Love you more.
Love you more.
What's that? You gonna put, no, you can't, that's the cat for the camera. You can't put that on.